Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben, bringing you vital information about the world of cinema, as always. Today, my friends, we honor a great man in John Wick, a man who should win an Oscar for how accurately he portrays Keanu Reeves on nighttime talk shows. Yes, all three John Wick movies have been excellent. John Wick 3, after all, was a proverbial defecation in Jack Reacher's mouth. Don't get me wrong, I love you, Tom Cruise, but John Wick just got into a gunfight on the highway with a gang of motorcycles while riding a horse. Your move. John Wick's integral contributions, not just to cinema, but to society, to you and me, and to the world, are why we are making this video today. We have to discuss the rules of the criminal underworld that John Wick exists within, and why those rules make John Wick such a great franchise. And please, on this video, stick with me until the end so you can hear and respond to the reason that I think that John Wick is so fun, so fresh, and so beloved. But first, don't forget that if you enjoy the video, we need you to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. I exist for you to hit that button. If you don't, I disappear into dust and you're stuck with a YouTube full of makeup tutorials and boring lists. As always, I freaking digress. Let me know down in the comments below if you often digress. Anyway, the world of John Wick might seem chaotic, random, and unpredictable. And there is a bit of insanity in the day-to-day affairs in the world of underground assassins, but all of it exists within a set of rules. Rules that provide a separation from the underworld, and sorry to any cubicle aficionados out there, but from people stuck wasting away in 6x6 boxes stacked by the hundreds on top of each other to the sky. Yes, this world has rules, which brings us to the first rule in the John Wick assassin underworld. Follow the goddamn rules. There is a complete commitment to the rules of the criminal underworld in which the movies take place, with no slapstick or hinted irony beneath the dialogue. In the beginning of John Wick 3, we see a secretary sending out a call that John Wick is excommunicado. He's a mark. It's a silly thing for a normal-seeming secretary to do, and it's almost a dramatic thing to do, unleash the entire underground of assassins on a single man. And yet the call is delivered in a serious manner, with a professionalism and commitment to the reality of the John Wick world. Every character in this world is subservient to the rules and takes them seriously with no sarcasm or smirks when discussing them. The next rule is that death is nothing personal. John can have a casual conversation with a giant Russian assassin in a library, almost the type of conversation that two men would have over coffee, not before they're going to fight to the death, and then yet fight to the death. And this is part of what makes John Wick so special, contrasting violence, extreme violence, with a casualness. Glad the wife and kids are doing okay. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna slice your throat and rip out your spleen. The violence is so much more stomach-churning when John kills people he was seemingly getting on with just moments before. Additionally, no one seems to really care when they lose men, or fighters, or even friends. There's hardly an emotional moment in any of the films. Yes, most of the characters are semi-sociopaths, but still, death just doesn't matter. The next rule is that nothing is sacred except for the rules. Evil is mixed with good, the peaceful is mixed with war. Two opposing things or ideas blended together is often how this rule manifests in John Wick's world. There is nothing sacred. The profane is blended with the divine, beauty is blended with blood. One minute there's fast-paced action and John is almost killed. The next minute he's in the lobby of a Gothic-style building with classical music playing in the background, and the next minute he's watching ballet. In John Wick 3, opposing forces in the movie become more and more blended as the film progresses as well. Eventually, blood is shed on the ballet stage itself. Even beauty and art are not safe from perversion. This brings us to our next rule, one that is actually said in John Wick 3 by the character known as the director. Quote, "Life is suffering," or the full quote, "Art is pain, life is suffering." This is why the movie never apologizes for its violence. It never holds back to avoid offending someone. The movies, like John Wick and the other assassins, care for no one's sensitivities. This is part of the super light message that is included in the fiction here. The movie is an admission of suffering, of the pain that people face in life. Sometimes things just suck, and all roads out of suck also suck. As Sophia tells John, quote, "Sometimes you have to kill what you love." Don't think about that quote in any sort of complex poetic terms either. It means exactly what it sounds like it means. Sometimes you are going to have to kill what you love, or your love is going to have to die and there won't be another choice. The criminal underworld in the movie might be an exaggeration of human suffering, but the point is, brutality is omnipresent in the world, and honestly, its message is more true than the message of most deeper, more intellectual films. As for the art part, well, art is a reflection of an artist's pain that produces great and beautiful things. A ballet dancer in the film rips her toenail off. Her pain is one derived from the mastery of art, and so is John's pain the mastery of his. And the entire movie can be somewhat painful to watch and get through, but the end result is a beautiful piece of art. And yes, John Wick 3 especially is a beautiful piece of art. This links to our next rule, which is that in the John Wick underworld, nothing comes easy. Nothing. The only way to achieve redemption or victory is through suffering and sacrifice. John doesn't just get to easily agree to do what the Elder asks of him and kill Winston in order to redeem himself. Though that seems like it should be enough, it's not. He must also chop off his own finger while the rest of us watch. Winston himself says this rule out loud, quote, "If you want peace, prepare for war." Our next rule is that there are consequences for your actions. As Sophia tells directly to John, quote, "Everyone suffers from the consequences of their actions." Every action in John Wick has an equal and opposite reaction, and this doesn't change no matter who you are. There are no perfect solutions, no easy ways out. If you do something wrong, if you screw up, if you pissed someone off, it doesn't matter if you've changed or even if you didn't mean to. There are going to be consequences. And there is no escaping your problems. You have to face them. The character of the director also says something to John along the lines of, quote, "You can escape from the light to the dark, but they're in the dark too." She was referring to John trying to run away from his troubles, but you can't do that in John Wick's world. It doesn't matter how badly you want to forget who you were or what you did. You must pay for your actions. Even if you've already fought off an entire army of special forces level assassins, you still might have to get shot and fall off of a building. And there is no reprieve from that chance either, which leads us to our next rule, which is no rest, no reprieve, no timeouts from the game. Yes, the game never stops. This isn't basketball or football. It's a marathon of blood, and the action never stops for too long. And when it starts, it drags on and on and on. Many of the fight scenes take the audience through an entire range of emotions, from "this is awesome" to 5 minutes later when the fight is still going on saying, "this is a bit much," to 5 minutes later when the fight is still going on to saying, "okay, no, this is awesome." John Wick will shoot you into loving him. In John Wick 3, just when you think that the movie is slowing down, all of a sudden John is getting jumped in Casablanca. Even when you think everyone is safe in the Continental, alas, it becomes a war zone. Life is suffering. Just because John might need sleep, he ain't gonna get it, and so he doesn't need it. Don't be a bitch is part of this rule. The next rule is style. You have to have style in this criminal underworld. No, not just a chic choice of clothing, though the garb in the movies is great, and part of this rule is indeed that everything you do, from grocery shopping to killing, you better look good doing it. The Elder himself hooks John up with a spiffy new suit right after taking his ring finger, which John seems to accept as a worthy consolation prize. But it's style of action that is most important. You get the feeling that some of the things that John does, some of the ways that he kills people, isn't the most efficient or practical. But it looks cool, and he knows it looks cool. This is the whole motive behind gun kata in the first place, and why such a style fits so well in these films. The next rule is be honorable. And I know that sounds crazy in a criminal underworld like the one that John Wick exists in, but there aren't really that many totally malevolent people in John Wick's world, at least for the most part. I suppose the goons who killed John Wick's dog in the first film were pretty malicious bullies, but honestly, their boss wasn't too happy with their actions. Everyone we see has some honor to them, and part of the fun of John Wick is that it takes perfectly nice people and puts them in a criminal underworld. And this triggers the audience's brains to say something doesn't fit, but it's okay because it feels so original and is interesting to watch. When John goes to see the doctor, the Mr. Miyagi type dude, he's a good dude. He helps John heal and does so at risk to himself. Why the heck is he involved in the assassin underworld? The Bowery King also doesn't regret helping John when the adjudicator comes asking questions. He could have thrown John under the bus, but he doesn't, because despite being a major player in the criminal underworld, he has a set of principles he lives by. The adjudicator isn't really bad either. She's just doing her job, which is part of this rule. Everyone can accept that the other players in the underworld have a job to do and can't fault them for trying to do their job, the honorable thing. Now, it might mean that somebody's going to try and kill you for doing your job, but remember, it's no big deal. Death isn't personal. The final rule, and this is an important one, is that gratuitous violence is always necessary. Surely there was no need to drag on the scene where the doctor is shot by John Wick. They didn't just show us all of that, but they did. They let us see every little detail. They let us see knives slowly piercing into eyeballs and people die slow, painful deaths. And just when you think the dying is done, it continues. Why? Because the underworld isn't pretty. It's a brutal place, and if you don't like it, if you don't want to see the violence, show yourself out. But it's what happens in this world. Men, women, cute household pets, it doesn't matter. No one is exempt from the violence, just like the real world. A subcategory of this rule, of course, is guns. Lots of guns, no matter what, guns. And you might think that this is just a stupid but fun rule, but it actually isn't. The crashing sea of lead splashing across the screen in the films and the mountains upon mountains of weapons employed in the movies are there to remind you. No one cares about yours or anyone else's sensitivities. You might think that the movie is doing too much violence, too much gore, and the film is simply saying, I don't care. And this takes us into our conclusion phase here. What do all these rules lead to? How do they combine to make John Wick awesome? Well, think about it. Most movies you see today, no, actually most of everything you see today, attempt to win you over by being ingratiating, by signaling, I'm your friend, I agree with your sensitivities and respect your feelings. But not John Wick. Oh no, John Wick doesn't love you. And let me be clear, John Wick f***ing hates you. John Wick does not care what you think or how you feel. The movie is just going to have fun, what it considers fun, and you can come along or not. John Wick is not asking you to see him as a hero or even a good person. None of the members of the assassin underworld care at all or pause to think about how their gory and vicious murder of a helpless enemy is going to affect you. And these movies are not trying to preach to you either. They are not here to teach you deep lessons about life or what political candidate to vote for. Maybe it doesn't teach proper morals, but it doesn't care. It's about looking cool and killing lots of stuff. Stuff's alive, it does bad things, here's some weapons, now it's dead, that's John Wick. There's also a kind of dark catharsis to the rule that there are consequences for actions. We live in a society where there is ubiquitous abdication of responsibility for one's own actions. This is not solely a bad thing either. There are some deterministic elements to life, and society is realizing that rather than just throwing away and rejecting those it deems failures, there should be more compassion. But the way in which art so often reflects that people are victims of circumstance is refreshingly rejected in John Wick. You do something wrong, you pay the price. You don't have to worry. And most importantly of all, everyone is subject to the same rules in the films. As the movie doesn't preach, it picks no favorites. No group, no individual, no cute little puppy is for some deep, beautiful reason held outside the standards of the world that the characters exist within. Bullets and blades can kill everyone. Boom, y'all just got scienced. Well, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget that if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. John Wick is coming for you like you killed his dog. Anyways, my name is American Ben, and I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.